This video is a continuation to help you with your final exam review CR. It's the first CR to get you ready for the final exam. And I'm working through numbers 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 on this video. We'll see. Okay, so for 4, it says solve 5k minus 9 minus 2k plus 3 equals k minus 6. And then they want to see, is there one solution? If there's one, it's either going to be 1.5 or 4.5. Does it turn out that at the end of the day, the two sides of the equal sign will never match and then it's no solution? Or will the two sides of the equal sign perfectly match and come up with a true statement? And then we have infinitely many solutions. So let's just give a check. So we're going to start on this side of the equal sign. And there's some like terms we can combine. You remember from 7th grade, Miss Pearson would always say X's and O's. You combine your variable parts. 5k minus 2k. 5k, take away 2 of those k's, you're left with 3k. Then you're going to combine your constants. Negative 9 plus 3. Negative 9 plus 3. Signs are different. Find the difference. The difference between 9 and 3 is 6. What do you have more of? Well, we have 9 negatives and only 3 positives. So this side turns out to be 3k minus 6. We cannot put them together. They are not like terms. Go to the other side of the equal sign and you're like, wow, that side says 3k minus 6. Some of you at this point are noticing something and you're already ready to circle one of these answers. But if you're not noticing, we can go a step further. So then you say, okay, I'm going to move all of my variables. So once I've combined like terms on one side of the equal sign, now I'm going to move all my variables. I like to go to the left, all my constants to the right. So I'm going to start by moving this 3k. If I want to eliminate this 3k from this side of the equation, I have to subtract 3k. Once I subtract 3k on the right side of the equation, I also need to subtract 3k on the left side of the equation. 3k minus 3k, those zero out, bye-bye. 3k minus 3k, those zero out, bye-bye. So once we've eliminated the 3k on both sides, on the left-hand side I have negative 6 equals, on the right-hand side I have negative 6. What do you notice about that? Did negative 6 equal negative 6 yesterday? Well, it sure did. Was negative 6 the exact same number as negative 6 today? Oh, it is. And will negative 6 be equal to negative 6 tomorrow? Oh, yes, they will. So we've come up with a true statement. When you come up with a true statement that always will be true, it means no matter what number I shove in place of k, there will be infinitely many solutions. Some like to say all real numbers will work in this equation. So hopefully that helps with that one. All right, let's go to the next one. Find the volume of the sphere if the diameter is 6, and they give you the formula for the volume of your sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. All right, well, within the formula to find the volume of a sphere, we need the radius, but we're given the diameter. Well, the diameter would cut all the way through our sphere. And our diameter from one edge to the other is 6. But here's your radius. Radius only cuts through half the sphere. So if we take 6 and we need to know what's half of 6, oh, half of 6 is 3. You can do that by taking your diameter of 6 and dividing it by 2 to get 3. Or you can do 1/2 times 6, and that gives you 3. So if your diameter is 6, you know your radius must be 3. Now we're ready to substitute that value into the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the formula for volume. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. I don't have a calculator at home, and I'm really glad because I can actually see that each of the answers has a pi left within it. I don't have to do any rounding for this problem. So my volume will be 4/3. The operation between the 4/3 and the pi is multiplication, so it's 4/3 times pi. The operation between the pi and the r to the 3rd power is multiplication. And now I'm ready to substitute 3 in place of r. So then it's 3 to the 3rd power. At that point, I take a look at this formula and I'm like, oh, I'm going to simplify my 3 to the 3rd. 3 to the third means 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So 3 to the third power is 27. So then I have 4/3 times pi times 27. I don't know what I'm writing there. I was ready to write another fraction. 27. Now, if I have to further simplify this, I don't happen to have a calculator at home, so off to the side, I know my answer will include pi. So the volume will be some number times pi. And what will be that number? That number is what we get when we take 4/3 and we multiply it by 27. So that's what I'm going to do off to the side. 4/3 times 27. 27 is the same as 27 over 1. A couple of options. I could multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, and then divide out, or I could simplify first. So I'll go ahead and do it both ways. I'll multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, and then after that, I'll show you a quick way to go about it. So 27 times 4, and this is because I don't have a calculator at home. 7 times 4 is 28. Put down an 8, carry 2. 4 times 2 is 8, and 2 is 10. I could have almost guessed, based on letter A, that it was 108. So it's 108 over 3 times 1 is 3. So now I have to divide 3 into 108. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract off. You're left with the 1. Bring down the 8. 3 goes into 8 6 times. So this is 36. And if you didn't want to have to multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, and then divide, you could always look here and simplify first. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 27 9 times. 4 times 9 is 36. Just a quicker way to go about it. But now that I've multiplied 4/3 times 27, I see that my final volume will be 36 pi. Please make sure in your work you don't lose that pi. Pi is an actual number, 3.1415926. I think I'm making up some of those digits, and on and on and on. If they asked you to round, you would need to know that. But they don't. They leave it in terms of pi. So letter B is the answer. Moving on, let's take a look at number 6. In the figure, if line R is parallel to line S, what's the value of X? All right, they give us some good information about some angles. They give us these angles. These angles are outside the parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. These angles are actually alternate exterior angles. And the important fact about that is when parallel lines, it's got to be parallel lines, are cut by a transversal, alternate exterior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. That's the important fact here. So the reason they had to tell us these are parallel lines so that we would know for sure that these two angles actually have equal measure. These two angles have equal measure. These angles have equal measure, and we want to know what X is. The fact that they have equal measure, I'll take the measure they give me for this angle here, 2x plus 7, and I'll set it equal to the measure they give me for this angle here. And then what I'll do is I'll simply solve this equation for X. So this falls back on your equations unit from earlier this year. So I'm going to go ahead, and there's lots of ways to go about it. I'm going to choose to move all X's to the left. Many of you will choose not to because it's going to involve negative numbers, and you choose not to. Some of you talk about younger siblings, older siblings. You have a little something fun about where things move. I don't know. But I always just move all of my X's to the left. So I need to move this 3x over the left-hand side. So in order to eliminate the 3x on the right side, I need to subtract 3x. If I'm subtracting 3x on the right side of the equal sign, I also need to subtract 3x on the left side of the equal sign. Bye-bye 3x, see you later. 2x minus 3x. Signs are different, find the difference. The difference between 3 and 2 is 1. What do I have more of? I have 3 negatives, only 2 positives. I have more negatives. So this will be negative 1, keeping my x. Negative 1x plus 7 equals, when I look at this side of the equation, what am I left with? I'm left with negative 10. Now I'm going to move all of my constants to the right side of the equal sign. How do I eliminate plus 7 from the left side? I subtract 7 from the left. I'm going to subtract 7 on the left side of the equation. I must also subtract 7 on the right side. So I have negative 1x equals negative 10 minus 7. Signs are the same. Find the sum, keep the sign. Find the sum. The sum of 7 and 10 is 17. And I got to just keep the sign. Negative 10 minus 7 more is negative 17. If I need to solve for x, I'm going to go ahead and divide, to get x all by itself, by negative 1 on each side. Bye-bye. That's a fancy form of 1. So my final answer is x equals negative divided by a negative is a positive. 17 divided by 1 is 17. Boom. X must have to equal a positive 17. All they wanted to know was the value of x. We're done. I'm going to do the last 3 problems on another video. So hopefully this has helped for problems, I think, 4, 5, and 6.